Imagine you had a really long day. You come home, sit on your couch, and start scrolling on your favorite social media. A friend sends you a cab meme. You find it funny, so you like it and scroll down. Then you see a post of your favorite influencer talking about current situation in your country. You like it and scroll down. Then you see a post about plastic pollution, which is killing turtles. You feel a little bit sad, but you still like it and scroll down. But what if I tell you that those 3 posts have more in common than you might think, and the topic that connects them is climate change? To understand it, we need to go back to the 60s, when first scientists came with the idea that global warming is a real problem caused by people. We, as society, burn fossil fuels as oil, gas, and coal, and put emissions of CO2 into the atmosphere, which is leading us to climate chaos. This information got into the hands of fossil fuel industry, and they stand in front of big decision. Are we going to stop our business and move somewhere else? Or are we going to continue with burning fossil fuels, which is leading our planet to catastrophe? Now we know they chose the second option. However, the climate change is real, and the impacts are really real. First smogs, first fires. They needed to find strategy how to tell us their businesses are fine. And they came up with really nice idea, which is denying. Not only telling us that climate change is not real, but putting false information to the public space, like we need fossil fuels, we need those emissions to survive. But climate change is real, and the impacts were getting stronger, so it wasn't working that much. And they needed to move somewhere else, to a different strategy. And of course, they found a really nice one, which was putting the blame on individuals, me and you. How many of you have counted your individual carbon footprint? I did, and I felt really proud that my emissions are not that big. But compared to emission of fossil fuel industries, it's nothing. The concrete example, the calculator you can find on random internet is just strategy of one of the fossil fuel companies in Britain made to make you think that you are the problem. But you know, climate change is real, and the impacts are real, and they are getting stronger and stronger. So they needed to move even further to the third phase of their strategy, which is owning the media. But let me stop here. Now we know that climate change is real. It's not caused by the individuals. So how did we get to that point? Let me tell you my side of that story. In 2019, when I was 14 years old, I was just sitting in my living room, scrolling on my social media, talking to my friends, and I was terrified about what I saw. I was scared. Not only I saw fires, floods, animals dying, mass extinctions, first climate immigrants, and even dried fields in Czech Republic. But more I fell deeply to the topic of climate change, I found the second side, the students. In 2019, there was a rising movement of Fridays for Future around the world, and students went together to the streets with banners shouting, "We want a change, we want climate justice." And I felt really small at that time. I organized strikes on the countryside of Czech Republic. We were there with 30 people. But I can tell I was part of something bigger. I was part of the biggest protest in the global world. Everyone needed to respond to the strikes because they were huge. Even markets, even businesses, and even the politicians. Concrete example. In Czech Republic, before year 2019, government said that we are going to end coal in years 2100, which is not even close to solve climate change. But now, after the strike, after the narrative was shipped somewhere else, we can tell that in 2024, Czech Republic is going to end coal in years 2033, which is fine. But you know, there is a problem, right? Why are we still not doing enough? The problem is that the story from the 60s hasn't ended. Let me tell you last story. Imagine it's year 2009. By the way, I am 4 years old at the time, and you are a really wealthy guy in Czech Republic. You see the opportunity in fossil fuels, and you buy 2 coal power plants in Czech Republic, and you are slowly starting growing your business. Not only you buy more power plants and coal mines, but you move to different countries like Germany, Netherlands, Italy, Great Britain, and Slovakia. But still, climate change is real and the impacts are getting stronger. So, as a business owner of fossil fuel industry company, you need to find strategy how to face this problem, because it's real, but you see the potential in it. So, firstly, you start moving to different categories of business, like biomass or dumping, or even toxic trash. But that's not enough. So you chose the traditional strategy, how to shift the narrative, the oligarchy one, which is owning the media. Not only you buy the most read newspaper in Czech Republic, Blesk, or one of the most listened radio broadcasts in Czech Republic called Evropa 2, but the top known newspaper in France called Le Monde. And now, in 2024, you own 50% of Czech media. The problem is that this is still not enough, because climate change is real and the impacts are getting louder, and you need to wash your image and clean it. So you move even further on the internet. Another problem is that you are not a random guy. You are a really concrete person. Your name is Daniel Křetínský, and you based company called EPH, which is putting same amount of emission into the atmosphere as whole Finland does. And you are one of the biggest oligarchs in Czech Republic. But how is Daniel Křetínský connected to 3 posts we liked at the beginning? The first post, the turtles and plastic pollution. It's just one of the greenwashing strategy of his companies to make you think that they are green and they are eco. What about the second one, the influencer talking about current situation in your country? It's just person paid by his money under one of his media houses to tell you the narrative they wanted to tell you. And the third post, the cat meme everyone liked. In Czech Republic, we have internet platform called Hey FOMO, which is usually targeting young audience as I am. They work on social media platforms like Instagram, and they post stuff that is really casual to us. Human rights, political situation, current trends, and even climate change. The problem is they are owned by Daniel Křetínský, and they talk to us in the narratives of fossil fuel industries, that your straws are more important than their emissions. When you see this map, and when you see this system between oligarchy and climate change, you feel scared, or I felt. Like, what we can do as people just sitting here. But as a student from 2019, I know that we can make the change even in the topics like climate crisis. And you can start too. You can start too, as I did in my living room, scrolling on my social media. Just right now, you are watching your phone, scrolling, and when you see a post about climate change, you will face a difficult decision. Are you going to like fossil fuels, oligarchy, and climate change? Or you will choose the second option. For example, you can start with my video and my talk. Thank you.